Week 4 of the college football season has come and gone, and with it, a host of national championship dreams have been dashed. The state of South Carolina is officially in full panic mode, as both of their teams with preseason playoff expectations have been effectively eliminated. Coastal got back on track with a nice upset at least. The Dabo memes have gone crazy, and rightfully so. Really couldn't happen to a more humble guy. The craziest thing about Clemson already having 3 losses is their extremely lackluster strength of schedule, especially moving forward. All they had to do was go 2-2, and like Notre Dame, they'd still have a pretty good shot of making the playoff as a 2-loss team. Even crazier, a few seasons ago the Tigers were riding a 40-game home win streak before it was eventually snapped by Spencer Rattler. Now, the team is 0-4 in Death Valley against their last 4 Power Conference opponents. This is Tyler from Spartanburg's wet dream. Mike Gundy got fired by Oklahoma State, one of the sadder anticipated firings of the year. He'd been complaining about NIL for years, and it seems it's finally caught up with him. Texas Tech is extremely legit, taking down Dampier in Utah in very convincing fashion. Billy Napier is somehow still employed, though his termination is merely an inevitability at this point. We knew the Gators had a tough season coming into the year, but they now need multiple miracles to even return to bowl eligibility. Though he's not the only SEC coach that's secured an unemployment check already. More on that in a bit. Brett Bielema's dark magic is apparently stunted in Bloomington, though the Illini remain ranked per the AP. You can't count them out though, because aside from having upcoming matchups hosting the Trojans and Buckeyes, the remainder of their schedule is fairly mild. Should they upset Lincoln Riley's squad, we're probably looking at a bullshit argument regarding this team earning an at-large bid. Personally, I'm just rooting for a rematch against Jason Garrett's Gamecocks if they can learn to protect the most exciting player in the sport.
Sellers facing pressure and doesn't throw the ball away and is sacked.
Kicking things off in Choke City, we take a visit to San Jose, California. The Idaho Vandals had a 7-point lead midway through the fourth quarter before managing to lose in regulation. The game was otherwise not super captivating. Degenerates from all over the country thought they had been baited into wagering on Dan Mullen's squad to cover the 1.5-point spread when they visited Oxford, Ohio. They found themselves down by 2 touchdowns twice in this game, before managing to tie the game in the fourth quarter. The Redhawks were on the verge of regaining the lead before a fumble deep in UNLV territory allowed the Rebels to escape with a gutsy win. The Razorbacks visited Memphis for their first visit against the Tigers since 1998. Arkansas nearly upset Ole Miss last week before a late fumble ruined their chances of getting a massive upset against Lane Kiffin. They came out primed to continue their offensive momentum, racing to a 28-10 first-half lead. After only managing 3 points in the entire second half, they found themselves down 1 late in the game. Bobby Petrino's offense managed to get deep into Memphis territory. At the 2-minute warning, they probably could have taken a few kneel-downs along with the lead. But sometimes we don't have to wait weeks for parallels to exist in this sport, as yet another Arkansas fumble while driving to take a late lead squandered their chances, and in all likelihood, Sam Pittman's job. There are a lot of fan bases that you can feel bad for in college football. Many of them deserve much better than they get from their players and coaches. The Razorbacks are one of those teams. Like many flagship universities, they exist as the biggest draw for football fans in their state. Without an NFL team, they become the sole unifying entity. If you've ever been to Arkansas, the pride they have for the Fayetteville University is unmistakable. These people live and breathe Woo Pig. Around the turn of the century, Houston Nutt had the team playing at an extremely high level, seemingly ready to take that next step as an SEC juggernaut. Darren McFadden would finish as Heisman runner-up 2 years in a row, and the future looked bright. After Bobby Petrino took over, the Hogs continued on that trajectory. Before the Battle of the Boot in 2011, they were ranked number 3 in the BCS ahead of a visit to Baton Rouge against the number 1 Tigers, a win away from creating the weirdest national championship selection of all time. As their sole loss of the season came at the hands of Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa, the only team ahead of them in the rankings aside from LSU. But LSU had beaten Alabama in the regular season just a few weeks earlier. A Razorback win would have meant the top 3 teams would be 11-1. With all of them being in the SEC West, the division winner would be forced to play an additional game against 12th-ranked Georgia in the SEC championship game. Outside of that, there'd be no way to separate these teams. It'd be one of the most anticipated BCS selections of all time. Unfortunately, Arkansas fell to the eventual national runner-ups 41-17, but after beating Kansas State in the Cotton Bowl, expectations were sky-high moving forward. Headed into the 2012 season, they were still considered a top 10 unit, with the recent success giving all the more reason to be excited. The Razorbacks' return to national contention had finally been achieved, winning the football title in 1964, basketball in 94, maybe 2014 was destined to be the year that things finally had come together. Until...
Dang it, Bobby.
Bobby Petrino's motorcycle accident and affair became a massive meme among those familiar with the story. For good reason, too. It's hysterical. A God-fearing man getting into a wreck with a woman other than his wife is the low-hanging fruit we love. Unfortunately, these jokes don't go as far in Northwest Arkansas. Petrino was obviously fired, and the decade and a half the university had spent building a sustainable contender was gone in an instant. Brett Bielema was brought in from Wisconsin to slow the bleeding. His success in Madison suggested he could possibly right the ship. 5 seasons of mediocre results later, the Razorbacks elected to move on. His replacement would be Chad Morris, the former Clemson offensive coordinator and more recently SMU head coach. He probably wasn't the sexiest hire, but had been turning things around in Dallas for a school that was still reeling from their NCAA death penalty. It went terribly. Pittman was hired to attempt a program revitalization. It was pretty well known that the former Georgia offensive line coach would be given a long leash. Unfortunately, a few stagnant years later, and that goodwill has been expended. It's not like the Hogs are in an incredibly difficult place to succeed. The amount of money throttled into the program by major Arkansas corporations like Walmart, Tyson Chicken, J.B. Hunt, and Jerry Jones go a long way. Further, unlike, say, Mississippi State, they aren't competing with a big in-state rival for recruits. Though for now, Razorback fans will have to continue to wait for their return to SEC relevance. Don't be surprised if former Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn is the first name listed to replace Pittman. The current FSU offensive coordinator went to high school and started his career in the Natural State. A reunion between the university and their own former OC could be exactly what the program needs to get back on track. We once again head to Buffalo, New York in this series. Pete Lembo channeled his inner Nevada by feeling the need to appear on the worst chokes in back-to-back weeks. The Bulls, fresh off their victory narrowly escaping a lowly Kent State program, raced out to a 17-0 lead in the fourth quarter. Troy is only a few years removed from being a Sun Belt powerhouse, but after John Sumrall was poached by Tulane, they've regressed. However, in the fourth quarter, the Bulls went 3-and-out on 3 consecutive drives. They'd allow Troy to break a run for a score and take down the team that looked to be one of the favorites to win the MAC this season. The worst choke of the week would take us to Kalamazoo, Michigan, birthplace and current residence of the greatest bass angler of all time in Kevin Van Dam. Toledo entered the game as 11.5-point favorites. The Rockets are yet another team poised to be a contender in the ever-captivating MAC, and for that, instead of yapping, I've decided to give them their very own edit.
Taken away by Western Michigan. Gleason is buried. Never saw Joshua Franklin.
Just kind of threw a duck, threw it off his back foot.
Now from the 34 on the sweep with Christian Leary. And Leary. A leaping grab by Blake Bosman. Lowry keeps it. Lowry eyeing the pylon. Lowry is in for the touchdown. Gleason is dumped. A huge loss on the play. That's caught by Williams. Williams inside the 10. To the pylon. That's a touchdown. Brock Lowry in the clutch. For the lead. Lowry in the move again. He's in for 2.
I'm admittedly not super familiar with Jason Candle. I remember watching his squad beat Pitt last year, and they looked really impressive in the 6 overtime victory. But after a disastrous sequence to lose against Western Michigan, the post-game thread is apparently indicative of why the long-tenured coach doesn't deserve a shot at a Power 4 program. Until next time.